Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about strings, and then we will talk about modules and packages. Okay, what is a string? A string is strings are sequences of characters, and they are delimited either with single or double quote. Like a variable, let's define a variable like hello, and if I print this out, I will have a string, and as you see I use single quotes around this string. And then we have some characters, sequences of characters in this string. And Python also supports a number of special characters that are kind of escaped using a backslash, like new line, tab, and then backslash itself can be shown using another backslash. So what that means if here I add two backslash, what I'm going to see here, one backslash, because the second one, the first one is escaped, and it's used to show the second backslash. And also, let's say I want to show a double quote itself here, a single quote itself here. So I can use a backslash to show a single quote. Let's say I want to cover this hello with single quotes. So if I run this, what I'm going to see single quotes around hello, a string. So I use backslash to show single quote, and then I can do this. I can use backslash to show a backslash to show double quote. So let's see what happens here. So for the first one, it's a single quote. The second one is a double quote. Okay, so let's have a space between them. As you see, there's a space or gap from the beginning of the line, because I have a kind of space between the double quote and the next single quote here. Okay, so now let's show something using this one, new line. So if I write down print and double quote, let's say star and star and 1 2 3, and then 1 2 3 4. So what I'm doing here, I'm designing something. Let's run this. As you see, the first star, and then the next 2, and then the next 3, and then next 4, all of them separated in a new line. So in this way we can design something, we can write down our name. Okay, so what else? We can see that 3 single quote let us to write down a sentence here. This is my text. So if you want to write down a text, you can use this single quotes. Let's see what happens if I have 2. We have error. So it must be 3 of them in order to write down a text without receiving an error. So it's like a commenting, right? Writing a document, something. You can use 3 single quotes around your writing or your text file, then it will save it for you as a text, strings. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is concatenate strings. So what is this? Let's say I have a first name. Do you remember camel case? So this is the way I wrote down a variable name using a camel case notation. Let's say this is my first name and then my last name, right? And what I want to do, I want to say, what is my name? First name connected to the last name. So obviously, because I defined this before, both of these are going to add it together and store in this new variable that I have named it name. And then I want to print what I stored in name. So what happens now? Let's see. My name and last name, my first name and last name, they are after each other without any space. Can I fix this? Let's fix this with using one of those escape sequences, T, which was tab, right? So let's see what happens here now. Now I have a gap, which is tab, between my first name and last name. And then if I use N, my last name will go to another line. And then what else? Let me see what we have here. Let's see what R does. Well, we will talk about this later. See what happens. It kind of mixed my first name and last name and started my last name from the beginning of my name. Okay, we will talk about that later. Okay, so tab was the best one, right? Okay, so this one. Also, I could have a gap. Look at this. This is a space, right? Look what happens. There's a space between my first name and last name. So here, creating a gap between first name and last name. Okay, so we call this concatenating using the plus sign, and because both of these variables are the same type. Well, I said are the same type. What are the type of this? Let me see if I can know what is the first type of my first name and type of the last name. STR. STR means a string. Do you remember type of, for example, 3.4 was float, right? Type of 2 itself is integer, correct? So type of a string shows str. So now why when I am running this, I just see the output of the last line, because I need to print each single output to be able to see the output of each line. So now The first one is a string, the second one is integer. So type of string is str. Okay. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's see what happens if I use print function to print my first name and my last name. Do you remember we use comma to separate each of these expression, and then what we had? An argument. This is an argument, and then I can use a space to separate these two expression, the first expression and the next expression. Let's see what happens. See, this is the output, and I could use n. These are all review because we talked about this before. So this does the same as the above expression. Okay, so let's see what is the next thing that I want to talk about. Okay, so now let's do something. Dashes. I want to do something. So I explained about this this one, and I said I'm creating a design, right? I want to create a design here too. Do you remember I could multiply that to, let's say, 10 times, or let's say 25 times. What happens? It will print dashes, this one, 25 times for me. So look what happens. Well, so I have stored this expression in dashes, and then I printed out the dashes, and then we see dash repeated 25 times. Okay, I can do this. Oh, something interesting. I'm trying to be creative. So let's print, no, I'm not going to use, okay, let's use print. Okay, so I'm going to print a star, how many times? Let's say 10 times, and then I want to print this one, how many times? Let's say 9 times. Let's see what happens. Okay, so there are different ways of printing everything. I could first define these, and when I said define this, let's say I'm going to create a design like this. One parenthesis, I'm multiplying a star 10 times. Another parenthesis, I'm doing this, right? And then what plus does, it will concatenate these two expressions together. And then here I want to print design. Let's see what happens. Wow, nice. Okay. Well, these are different ways of using the print and also using concatenating it to strings or many strings. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the type of a string. Okay, let's say I have a value here. Oops, balance. Okay, so, and then I have dollar amount, which is 235, let's say. I'm defining variables, right? And both of these, what are the type of these variables? Obviously, this one is float, and this one is integer, right? So what I'm trying to do here, I want to convert integer or float to a string. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new balance to a string. This is the variable name, right? And I'm going to use str. str is a built-in or kind of reserved actually word. Balance. So what I'm doing here, I am converting a float to a string using str, right? And then now I'm printing balance to a string. So obviously it shows the same value, same output as this one, right? But are these two the same type? I don't think so. Let's print the type of balance to a string, and then we understand, well, we change the type from float to a string by using str, and now the type is a string. So what this means, what I'm showing you is that if now you want to add this balance, which is a string, to a value which is a float, so what happens, I will receive error. Why? Because this one is a string and this one is float. Since they have different types, right? Okay, I'm going to cut this from here in case you are going to run this and you will think why you receive error, how to fix it. Okay, you should already know because I'm explaining all of this, right? Okay, so here is the reason we are receiving error, because balance to string is a string type and this one is float type. We cannot mix these two together, two different types together. Okay, so if I could use str to change this float to a string, I can do the same thing to integer. I can change the dollar, which was an integer, to a string using the same str, right? And then I'm going to print dollar to a string, and then I'm going to print the type of dollar to a string. Oh, what did I do wrong here? This one is wrong. It's not defined. Okay, someone tell me what did I do wrong? This is the reason. I defined this name and now I'm typing lowercase 2, so that was the reason. Okay, so now I didn't receive any error. So what happened? The type changed from integer to a string here. I'm going to copy this one here, and write down a comment for you so you know what we are doing. Okay, so that was converting integer and float to a string. Okay, so one more thing about, actually there are many more than one more thing. Okay, so let's see. I want to define a variable length, and then I'm going to use len. What is this? This will give me the length of a certain string. Let's say hello. I want to see length of hello, and then I'm going to print out the value which is stored in length. The value stored in length is the length of hello. From where to where? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the characters I have inside this or between the double quotes. Okay, so length, len, will show the length of strings for us. Okay, so what Python does actually for strings, Python uses Unicode standard representing characters. Unicode defines around 100,000 characters, and it's designed to be able to encode text in essentially all written languages. And also characters are stored as integer value in Unicode. Let me show you this. How I can bring it to this page. No, I couldn't. Okay, I will save it actually on a Slack to show you. You can easily Google and see what's the Unicode standard representing. What that means each character in a chart, there's a chart for Unicode. Okay, so I want to show you. Here's the chart I wanted to show you. For example, G is the character G is number 71 in ASCII. This is subset of Unicode, basic Latin, and then H is 72, right? Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Let's go back to our writing. Okay, so for example, if I want to know what is the integer value of H in Unicode, I want to print out very nice. The letter H has a code of what? I use ORD H to know what is the integer value or code of H in the Unicode chart. It's 72. We also saw that. And I can say code 72 represents the character what? How I can find it out? I can use CHR 72 to know what character is that. Obviously H, right? Let's try another one. Let's try 94 represent what character? Okay, the little hat. Okay, so I use CHR to show what character is stored with this code, integer value, in Unicode chart. And then I use ORD to know what is the code for uppercase letter H or character H in Unicode chart. Okay, so that was Unicode chart. Let me write down Unicode. And write down a note here for you. And then we are going to talk about indexing. Okay, so indexing, which is very useful in programming, means referring to an element of an iterable by its position within the iterable. So if later I want to explain iterable, that would be very easier for you, because I can have example for you like arrays and lists, all of this. A string also is a iterable object. Any object in Python that are capable of returning its member one at a time and permitting it to be iterated over a for loop, that is a iterable object. By indexing, we can get the element of this iterable object. Like indexing will help us to get each single element of a string. Let's say character, right? Each character of a string. So here we said what is the length of hello. I can use indexing to know what is the like fifth element in this string. How can I do that? I can write down, let's print it out. I can write down hello. Oh, well, you know what? Let's define a variable. Let's say this is my variable, hello, right? And then I want to say what is the fifth element of this string that I defined here. So this is a variable name, right? And then we have a string that is stored in this variable. I want to extract index fifth of hello. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, actually, so what I expect is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. O will be printed out, right? Let's see what happens. Well, O didn't print out. It print out this symbol. Why? Because indexing in Python starts from 0. If I print out the element 0 of this hello, I will get H. Why? Because it's indexing in Python starts from 0. So this is a 0 element. This is the first element, second, third, and 4, and 5. So that's why when I use 5, it showed this symbol, right? I'm going to write down each of them for you to understand what is going on. 2, right? Okay. Well, I'm writing all of them down. Why? Because I want to show you something very interesting. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Hello, right? Now I want to go to index -1. What is index -1? It's again this character or this symbol. Why? Because when I use -1, it starts backward from the end. What is index -2? Oh, because this one is 1, this one is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Well, let's do something strange. Okay, because I don't have any index 7, I received error. I'm going to comment this out. Do we have it? No. So I get right, and then -2, -1. Okay, this -1 says starting from the last element. Okay, so now you know how indexing works in Python. 0 showing the first element, second, and up to the last. If you don't have the index, you will receive error. If you use negative, it will start from the end of this string. Indexing is very useful. Later we will see array, we will see list, all of these to store numbers. Then indexing will help us to get some of the values from a set. So that is very useful. So what we are doing, we are using bracket operator to find an element of a string. We call this indexing, right? Okay, so next topic is, well, actually next topic will be, oh, you know what? Let me talk more about indexing actually. Let's use the string again. Show you the last thing I want to show you for indexing. I want to add another cell here. What was a string? We already defined it, right? So can I assign a character to the first element of a string that I define? Can I replace it? No. So what I was trying to do, I'm trying to I am trying to assign a character to the first element of hello. but I cannot do that. I cannot do this. So we cannot assign any character to a certain index of a string. So we receive error here. What else? Okay, so one more thing that is interesting here is I want to define a variable. This is my string 2. Okay, and this is hello everyone. Well, if I want to find the length of this, I use len, right? Okay, so now I want to do something else. I want to find a specific character or string in. Do you remember in was one of the reserved words in the string that I defined above. I want to see what I'm doing here, really. Okay, so I want to see if we can find hello in the string that I defined above. Yes, of course, we have it, right? What's the result? Result is Boolean, right? Result is true. It says yes, we can find it. So this is nice because if I have a huge sentence or if I have a text file, I can find a certain character in the text file, right? Using this. Do I have D in this one? No. Do I have EV? Yes, of course. This is the one, right? Do I have a space here? Well, yes, because here is the space. Is there a space in string 2? Okay, so well, now we actually are kind of end of this video. Well, before I finish, I really want to talk about this. Okay, let's talk about this. I want to use this one and print. I'm using different reserved word to show you how you can use them. Okay, I want to see what is the index of. Okay, this bracket helps me to find index or element of a string 2, right? And then I know what len does. Len gives me the length of a string 2, right? Well, it's not, it seems complicated, but I am using len and indexing both together. Okay, why do I get an error? Oh, well, that would be an amazing question for you. You should answer that. I will write down both of them. Here, I want to write down print len. I want to see what's the length of, it's a hint for you. What is the length of a string 2? Why do I receive an error? How can I fix this error? This is a question for you this time for your participation point. So what you're going to do, you are going to answer each of these questions. What is the length of a string 2? Why do I receive error here by writing this down? And how can I fix this error? What error I received here? I want you to do a little bit of kind of creativity, a trick to fix this for me, to fix the error for me here. Okay, so this is the end of this lecture. I will come back with a new one. Take care. We'll see you later.